Hi, my name is Hannah Kelly, and I am a program and events specialist with Girl Scouts of Louisiana, Pine City Gulf. And I'm here today to share a few tips on learning a new language. Before I get started, I'm going to tell you a little about me. I am a former language teacher. I taught Latin, and I went to LSU. So I'm a bit invested in this topic. I love language and I love the things that you can do with it. And so I am hopeful that these tips will help spark that love for you too. Okay, so first thing, why should you learn another language? There are so many benefits for learning a new language. But one of the big ones is that your brain stays flexible for longer. And you might not think about that being a benefit for you, but it is shown that your brain, when you know more than one language and when you're learning a new language, can rebuild faster. Our brain is what's called plastic. And so if you think about plastic, there are some actual plastics that are very easy to bend, and you can do all different kinds of things with them. And then there are the plastics that are very hard. So if you think of like a plate that's plastic or something like that. If you think about your brain like that plastic, learning a new language helps your brain stay on the flexible end, which means your memory is better for longer. You're able to multitask a little better. Your higher order thinking skills are better because your brain is used to having to think through multiple steps to get to the solution or that word that you're looking for. So that's just one of the benefits of language learning. Another one is that your other skills can improve. I'm sorry if you hear my dogs in the background. So other skills like communication in your native language. So in English, my native language is English. Learning other languages helped me and many others improve my writing skills, my communication with other people in English. It also improves your critical thinking skills because, like I said before, you have to kind of dig through the files in your brain to figure out what is the right response. And so that improves your critical thinking skills too. Another thing is you can communicate with more people, which is wonderful. You can make them feel included or something of that nature. So if you are, say, in a high school that has an exchange student program and you have been working on learning maybe Italian or something like that, and they're from Italy, you can make them feel like they are more at home when you try to communicate with them. Or if you want to travel, that's a great thing, being able to communicate in another language other than English, because not everybody speaks English. Another benefit of learning a language, you can boost your own self-confidence and sense of accomplishment. And if you're somebody like me that has always struggled with self-confidence, language learning helps a ton. And you might think, oh my goodness, I'm so afraid of speaking with somebody because I'm not very good at it. Well, everybody starts at the beginning. That's the simple thing. And just like when you learned English or whatever your first language was, you started small. And so if you think back to how you learned English, you started with little words like ball or mom or dad, things like that. And then you work your way up to full sentences, to being able to read, and then to being able to read bigger things. So building your skill set helps build your self-confidence because you have more tools in your toolbox. And then sense of accomplishment, who doesn't want to check that off their list of life? I can speak another language. That is something that not many other people in America can say. I think it's about 10% of Americans can speak multiple languages. So you would be in that 10%, which is really incredible. Another thing, you increase your college and career prospects. Now, you might not be thinking about college yet or what you want to do with your life yet, and that's okay. But another language is a benefit no matter what you're doing. Whether you want to cut hair and you want to widen your clientele and be able to communicate with somebody in their native language, or if you want to have your college application look good and say that you are proficient in more than one language, I mean, who wouldn't want that? It also shows that you are committed to learning a new skill and things like that. When you learn a new language, you learn more than just vocabulary. Sure, you learn how to talk to somebody, but when you learn a new language, you learn about the culture of the people that speak it. You learn about the history of the people that speak it. You learn so much more than just vocab. There's so much more to language than the words or the grammar or the syntax or anything like that. It's just a wealth of knowledge to be explored. And if you love to learn, then learning language might be something that you would really enjoy too. Also, just as a side note, if you are on TOPS University track for your diploma, it is required by the state of Louisiana that you take 2 consecutive foreign language courses, whether it's Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, French 1 and French 2, Latin 1, Latin 2. It just, you know, it's 2 consecutive ones for a TOPS University track. So it's something that you have to do anyway. Why not enjoy it? My favorite benefit of learning another language, it makes you a better human. So overall, when you're learning a new language, you are learning to speak to someone on their level, which taps into your empathy. It taps into your heart, to your emotion. If you think about where they are, where they're coming from, which requires you to learn about them, about where they've come from, about their culture, about their practices, about everything about them. You learning that makes you a better person. And so that's my personal favorite benefit, is that it makes you better all the way around. Sure, you know, you increase your vocabulary knowledge, you can increase your vocabulary scores on standardized tests, you can increase, you know, all different kinds of things. But personally, being a better human is the end goal for me. Okay, so what good can you do with another language? Sure, learning vocabulary, again, is a lot of what people think when they think about high school language courses, you know, learning your colors, learning the weather, learning that kind of stuff. But there's so much more that you can do. If you learn language, you can also teach others about language and culture. So if you maybe learn something in your Spanish class that you bring home to your family about a different culture, why not share that? And also, as a Girl Scout, you know, there are different projects that you can do that involve teaching younger Girl Scouts. And again, why not share things that you've learned, especially when it involves culture? Travel. Why wouldn't you want to travel, number one? But number two, language can help you feel more confident when you travel, because there is less of a barrier. Sure, you might not know everything, but that's okay. Nobody ever knows everything. Even if you speak English all day, every day, you probably don't know every word in the English language, and that's okay. Another thing that you can do is you can volunteer with your language skills. So an interpreter is someone who listens to someone in another language and shares in English, or vice versa. what they've heard, what they know. And a translator is someone who takes the written word and changes it over into another language. Whether it is volunteering at a church or with a local social group, or I mean, really anything. It's another opportunity for you to be a better human and to share your skills. You can plan for your future. I talked about that a little already, but employers always look for skills that only help them, right? And knowing more than one language doesn't hurt anybody. You can improve your skills that boost your career, even if you don't find a career in language. And we're gonna look at some careers in a second. But like I said before, learning a new language touches on things that are not just the language itself. You can serve your country. If you are interested in military service, there are many, many, many opportunities for people who know multiple languages, whether it is serving as an interpreter for the military or for the government, serving, I mean, there's so many different things that you can do. And if that's something that's kind of already on your radar, maybe consider picking up another skill to help you with that. And like I said before, you can make new friends, whether it's in a game that you play online or with a pen pal or someone new at school or whatever it may be. Language only opens doors. Whether it's for your future, whether it's to new relationships, whether it's to either your travel goals, learning a new language can only help. Okay, so what are some careers that would benefit from my knowledge? Really, anything that you can think of would benefit from you learning another language. I took this from leadwithlanguages.org, which is a fantastic site that is put on by ACTFL, which is the American Council for the Teaching of Foreign Languages. And this quote sums it up. Languages are among the top 8 skills required across all occupations, all of them, not just a few, not just some of them, all of them. From healthcare and government to finance and sports and everywhere in between, employers are seeking professionals who can communicate with a wide range of individuals, both domestically and abroad. Okay, so a language can only improve everything. So if you're thinking maybe about your college application, and if you and another person are side by side, and maybe your application skills are very similar, but you have one more skill than they do, your chances are probably going to be better if that skill is language based. Okay, so some careers that I just pulled that are directly impacted by knowing another language. An attorney, whether it is helping someone with a civil case, like if they get bumped into in a parking lot, their car gets bumped into or something like that. It can only help you if you can communicate with them in their native language. Or serving as an immigration attorney, if that is something that speaks to your heart, learning multiple languages and learning them early can only help. A diplomat, so a politician who wants to do things more than just locally. If you want to help in world government, things like that. A political analyst, so looking at data. Of course, that data might come in different languages. And sure, we have all of the tools that we could ever want on the internet, but Google Translate isn't always great, and it misses a lot of things that are very important. And so knowing more than one language could help you whenever you're interpreting data. Emergency response in healthcare. Again, if someone has a problem or someone comes in sick and maybe they don't know English, and that's okay if they don't know English. you would be able to communicate with them. Say maybe if you lived in Texas or somewhere that has a large Latin culture, you would be able to help them no matter what, and not make them feel more frustrated on top of whatever else it is that they're already dealing with. Marketing executive. So if you like advertising or social media or things of that nature. If you want to move up, learning languages can only help. An intelligence agent, so working for a cool group like the FBI or the CIA. Law enforcement, again, with that emergency response and healthcare, if there is a problem and they can't communicate to somebody, they are only going to feel more frustrated, and it's only going to make the problem worse. A tour guide, if you like to travel and if you love interacting with people, that's a great option. A researcher, so much like the data analyst, many languages, many things are published in their languages. For example, so I'm working on my master's in Latin, and a lot of the scholarship about Latin is written in Italian, French, and German. And so it helps knowing one of those three whenever you're looking at the article, because again, a lot can get lost whenever you translate things. A content creator. So if you want to do something with social media, if you know more than one language, you can increase your audience by a lot. Same for a journalist. And I already talked a little bit about an interpreter and a translator, and the differences in those. An educator, so you can always teach someone if you love it and if you have the heart for it. An engineer. Engineers travel all over the world, and they communicate with lots of different people and learn lots of different styles of well, whether it's architectural engineering or, you know, whatever, civil engineering, working with people with roads and bridges and things like that. A language can help you travel. An author, again, learning a language is more than the words. You learn about the culture and you learn about the history, and that can help you in your writing. Airline service, you get to travel all over the world and then interact with people from even more places. So language could only help. Publishing, again, if you know more than one language, you can broaden your client base. The same for hospitality. So if you want to work in a hotel, work with catering, work with food, it can only help. As well as sales. So if you want to be involved with sales and work with people, whether it is selling homes, selling timeshare, selling anything, you can reach more people if you know another language. And then in human resources, people from all backgrounds have to work, and human resource officers are people that take care of the people that work in different places, whether it's making sure that they have everything they need to submit for insurance or, you know, things like that. Another language could only help. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I want to share with you a few basics about some Romance languages. So many people think Romance languages like French and Italian have everything to do with love. You know, French is beautiful, and you know, you think Paris, the movies, everything that you see in movies and shows. But in reality, the Romance languages have nothing to do with love, and they have everything to do with the Romans. Romance languages come from Latin, which was spoken by the Romans. Our 5 biggies that are used today are French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, and Romanian. And then there are tons of other dialects and regional languages, which you'll see in the next slide. Okay, so this map on the top is a map showing use in Europe of different languages. And all of these ones that look a little funny, like Norman or Mongol or Apulian or Andalusian, all of those are what are called dialects, or they're essentially regional languages. And the colors show you their base language. This map is a map of the Roman Empire in 117, which is when it was at its height. And you can see that we go from Africa down here in the bottom all the way up to the UK, and then all the way over here. And we embody so many different places, which means they had so many different people. And so that's how the Romance languages split, and why we have some that are very similar, which you're going to see. And yeah, so the ones that we're going to look at are French, Spanish, and Latin. But I want you to see some common words that are in English, that we use in English, that we've taken and made part of our language. Because really, English is a big amalgamation, a big melting pot, just kind of like the image of America, a big melting pot of lots of different languages. So some things that I want you to see is that you use a lot of this already. It doesn't necessarily have to be something scary whenever you're learning a new language. So some things that we use from French, déjà vu. So whenever you like feel like you've done that already, that sense of déjà vu, that is straight from French. It means I saw that already, or I saw it again. Mirage. So if you think about stories in the desert where it looks like they have a mirage, water that's not really there. Encore, matinee, fiance, cul-de-sac, RSVP, which means respondez s'il vous plaît, respond if you please. And then menu, that's a word that nobody thinks about being not English because we use it so often. Words from Spanish, armadillo is actually a Spanish word. Bronco, macho, patio, cafeteria is from Spanish. Suave, Sierra, and mosquito. Mosquito is from Spanish as well. Some words that we use that are straight Latin. Data, bacteria, curriculum. This little abbreviation, ETC, means etc., and the rest is what it's short for. Agenda, alibi, maximum, and video. Video in Latin literally means I see. Okay, so some ways to say hello. In French, bonjour, which means literally good day. Bonjour. In Spanish, hola. And in Latin, we have two different options, and it's a little different because there's one if you're talking to one person, and there's one if you're talking to more than one person. So salve if you're greeting just me, or salvete if you're greeting your Girl Scout troop. Okay, so for one and for more than one, and that literally means be well. We got words like salutations. If you've ever seen Charlotte's Web, that's how she greets, is salutations. Salute, things of that nature all came from this word salve. Again, that's how you say hello. We've got bonjour in French, hola in Spanish, and salve or salvete in Latin. Our next one is goodbye. Au revoir. See you later in French. Adios. Again, see you later. And then in Latin, vale or valete. So again, if you were saying goodbye to just me, you'd say vale. If you were saying goodbye to your whole Girl Scout troop, so more than one person, valete. And that, again, is on the same lines of salve, be well. This means like be strong, be good in health. And health was very important then because lots of people, the mortality rates were very high. And so they included in their greetings and in their goodbyes, wishing somebody well, which is pretty cool. Okay, so 1 through 5 in French. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so that's 1 through 5 in French. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 through 5 in Spanish. Uno, like the card game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In Latin, look familiar? Unus, duo, tres is our 3, quatuor, which looks very similar to our other 4s, and quinque, which doesn't look as similar, but it is a very, it is a modified version, the French and Spanish ones. Sister or brother. So if you want to refer to your Girl Scout sister, or if you have a brother, in French, we've got sœur and frère, sœur and frère. In Spanish, hermana, hermano. And you're thinking, Hannah, this doesn't look the same. Well, I know that. Not everything looks the same, but they might have ties to different things, and that's okay. In Latin, soror, like a sorority, frater, like a fraternity, and these look very similar to our French options, right? But there's also something that relates to brother or sister, another word, germanus or germana, which looks very similar to our Spanish, hermana and hermano. Oh goodness, I don't know what's happening, sorry. Okay, so next slide. Greeting and introducing yourself. So we saw already, bonjour means hi, hello, good day. And to introduce yourself, so my name is Hannah. Je m'appelle Hannah. Of course, put your name in there. Bonjour, je m'appelle Hannah. So if your name was Juliette, bonjour, je m'appelle Juliette. Okay, so that's how to greet and introduce yourself in French. In Spanish, we've got hola, me llamo Hannah. Now, I am working on my Spanish. We're getting there. I took 2 years of French at college, and of course, the lots of years of Latin. But Spanish is something that I'm working on personally, just to improve, get better, and know more. So my Spanish is nowhere near perfect. We're on the good. We're getting good. Probably not even good, but that's okay, I'm learning. So this is how you greet in Spanish, and it's the same for French. So hello, my name is Hannah. Hello, my name is Hannah, okay? In Latin, it's a little different. So remember, if you're speaking to one person, so if you were greeting me, salve, if it's more than one person, do you remember what it was? Salvete, okay? So salve or salvete. Nomen mihi est Hannah. My name is Hannah. So literally, if you were going to read it, it's the name of me is Hannah, which is essentially what you're saying, right? So these are how you would greet and introduce yourself, give your name. And that's just a little taste of the 3. I highly suggest you picking something that you're interested in. For me, I really love Latin because it is like a really big word puzzle. So if you like word puzzles, that might be your jam. French is helpful if you want to travel places where French is spoken. It's also good depending on what you want to study. So if you want to study Louisiana history, French would be great because there are many original documents that are in varieties of French. Same for Spanish because of our culture, our history. Some tools that you can use. Duolingo, which is a fabulous app that lets you learn some basics, that walks you through it, kind of gamifies it, and it keeps track of what you do. Quizlet is good if you're learning new vocab. It has different games that you can play, but also it essentially is like a digital flashcard. Your local library should have tons of resources, whether it's online or other books. And then movies you know and love. The more you hear a language, the better that you will get. So if you love watching Finding Nemo and you know it by heart, that's one movie I know by heart. I could turn it into Spanish and watch it that way. And I still know what's going on. It sounds different, but your brain picks up on a lot more than you think it does. So when you're listening and you're watching and you see Dory come in and you know what she's supposed to be saying, you'll be hearing and connecting in a different way. The same with books that you know and love, even children's books. So I have lots of different children's books in Latin. I have The Cat in the Hat. I have The Giving Tree. I have tons of other options, and it's because it's stories that you know and love, and you can see and connect, and your brain can connect in different ways without you really having to work really hard for it. Now, I'm not saying that learning a language is the worst thing you'll ever do. For some people, it's not very easy, and that's okay. If you are one of those people who is good in music or in math, usually you'll be good in language acquisition as well, just because it's the same parts of your brain. And even if you're not good at those things, that's okay too. Personally, for me, learning is always the end game. Increasing that knowledge base, and anything that you do when you're learning is only going to be good. This is a step in our Keep Calm, Stay Strong patch program. It ends May 31st. So if you haven't finished it yet, go ahead and try for that. This is one of the steps, so you can earn your patch that way. Just starting a language, picking a language, starting from scratch. And really, I showed the Romance languages because they're a little easier for English speakers because you don't have to learn another alphabet. You can always learn other things like Hebrew or Greek or Arabic or Mandarin. There are so many different varieties of Indian languages. It's just, there's just so much that you could do. That's one of the things that I love about language is it's forever. You can always learn different things. So you can start your journey with language and earn a part of your patch. Thank you for listening, for joining, for being here with me today. If you have questions, just excuse me, I'm sorry. If you have questions at all, or if you want some more tips, email info@gslpg.org, and it will get to me some way or another, and I will be happy to help you. Again, thanks for joining us. I hope you have a great week.